G'day everyone, this is Rangadad, not financial advice, just the way I'm looking at the market. So I'll give a quick update before the weekend, just given this thing has been pretty well up only all day so far. The open interest is dropping, which is suggesting people have been taking profit on the way up here. Funding's not really giving us anything in terms of a top though. So probably a little bit more to go in this. We have taken a fair bit of liquidity to the upside, but as you can see, it was pretty sparse today anyway. The things to keep in mind for the weekend are there's a big chunk in here, which goes back actually a few more days, I believe. Yeah, so big chunks of liquidity in here. It's going to be pretty attractive for it, at least up to 62.5. That to me is a pretty good target for the weekend at some stage. The downside though, we've still got we need to go out a month, so it's getting out there. Still obviously got a fair chunk down to that 57,800 level. And then you've got a fairly decent amount around 57. Now, as I said, we've still got this up to even 62,800. There's a fair bit of liquidity above. And then this here, obviously, if we're breaking 64.8, then I'd expect we go into to test the top of the channel again. I'd probably break the top of the channel, to be honest. There isn't a huge amount of liquidity in the market. ETFs have started inflowing again. What I saw this morning. I mean, it's up a little bit on the day, biggest ones in general, so not bad, not great though either. Yeah. GBTC over the last, what's that? Fuck, I hate. That's, yeah. So down a little bit still, a little bit suppressed. bybit seems to have a fair bit coming into it over the last couple of days. A little bit of a correction, but otherwise not too bad. But overall, only slightly down. So it looks like the outflows may have. Oh, sorry, actually, that's that's about triple that last couple of days. So yeah, look, they seem to be fleeing a little bit. We'll see how this goes in the next day, but interesting. I think the yeah, I think this is going to be taken over the weekend too. So 57,800 is my bottom, I think, over the weekend. Somewhere very close to that. If we slip through that, then God knows where that's going. I'll have to have a look at that when it happens, but if it happens. But yeah, for the time being, we'll probably, at most, I think this particular run will get up to about 61k. Just there's a few decent sized gaps. Above that. So yeah, look, we're probably topped out here. Probably roll over and start to test some of these levels. If it takes a bit of this, it'll probably take all of it, I would think, up to the 62.5. But it's going to be an interesting weekend, and particularly tonight with US stock market will probably come down. Maybe like it's still a bit all over the shop. Needs to really make a decision and break to new all-time highs with decent volume. But realistically, what I'm worried about in terms of taking longs from here is effectively, one, you've got a big chunk of liquidity on the order books here. You've still got a lot of people going long in this run up, so it'll probably come back down and want to take a lot of that out. There's not a hell of a lot above. There's not a lot of sell liquidity. So it's just whether or not the sellers are exhausted in here or the buyers become exhausted and then we start to run up. No, it'd be sellers become exhausted, sorry. Again, that's held up. That was a pretty strong bottom. Whether it still holds or not over the weekend, that'll be interesting. Taking out that and getting into this area on sort of low volume over the weekend wouldn't be the end of the world. But it's not often you get a run up like this over multiple hours. So that's been going to that at least 8 or 9 hours. And it's pretty much been straight up. It looks like it's starting to roll over now. We'll just have to wait and see. It's a pretty good looking candle though. The 61,400 level. So these EMAs in here I think are going to be important. If we close it daily above the 20 EMA, which is sitting on the bybit, is about 61,800. Then that's looking pretty good. We'll probably chop. We'll probably get wicks back down into these areas, but I still would be surprised if we didn't today even just come down and sweep into these areas again just to pick up some of the extra 100x longs that people were taking. So I think that's very much on the cards. It's just the fact that we've gone just straight up today. This may be the top for the day, to be honest. It might come back down, sweep here, and finish somewhere in this area. That'd still be a good candle. If we're still closing above the 200 and above the value area low, then I think that will be a good cleanup of this area, and basically it'll give itself permission to move to the upside. On low stochastic momentum at the moment, so any sort of decent correction to the upside should see a pretty good move, pretty quick move. I'm just unsure where the liquidity is coming from. We've got gold's actually come back up a bit more into these vectors. I mean, I'd be surprised if gold went to new all-time highs from this point. Could do. It's a very shallow pullback though, if it does. In which case I'd be more concerned about the overall market, just with that much money flowing into gold. Oil is about as flat as you'll see it on a daily candle. Nothing decided yet on oil, but it's potentially just waiting for something to happen tonight. Let's have a quick look at the... So what do we got? Bit FOMC speaking. M2 money supply in China will be interesting. So maybe the core PPI and regular PPI readings are going to be the catalyst for that last sweep down. There's not a lot else in terms of news to blame on the movement. Anyway, I think yeah, for the time being, roll over here would be not surprising. It's already recovered all the vectors to the upside. If it keeps going, it'll be up into the 61,300, but even then, that's not a super target. I think the target realistically is going to be up into the 61.8 to 62, low 62s. And then it'll probably pause there for a little bit. So we'll probably chop around over the weekend, but eventually I have a feeling it'll probably get close to that 63,200 even over the weekend. If that happens, then you're going to be hard pressed to be bearish, I would think. Especially if it closes somewhere above 62. For the time being, it's a bit of a freight train to the upside. Not much pullbacks at all. And the pullbacks could be pretty minor, really. 60,100 could be all we see, but just because there isn't a hell of a lot below us. But I think if it comes back down a bit deeper than that, you want to be holding this line over the weekend if possible. Otherwise, it'll be hard pressed to get back up to closing above that 200 daily EMA and the value area low. So they're the sort of ranges somewhere between 62,500 and 57K are probably going to be the weekend range. If we slide much lower than that, then it's down into the low 50s. That would be pretty nuts. Hey, Disclosure Crypto. I did actually get to that. Sorry, I don't check the chat very often, but I got to that this morning. It's looking pretty shit, but it does actually look like it's trying to form a base as well. I'll just do that on one of these other charts, I think. Gary. Let's go to the daily. Gary on the daily is looking pretty garish. But yeah, I think a retest of this support is possible. I did actually, so I got the vector candles. Oops. So 0.063 would be a good retracement level for Gary. If it bounces off that, you may actually get a bit of a run. Now, good luck. This is not a particularly good looking chart, but it was launched in the bear market as well. So you never know. If it gets down there, 13,000% could be a pretty good run on it. Wouldn't be unheard of in crypto, but Jesus, it's ain't looking good. You're going to get a lot of resistance on the way up, but I think if we go into a bull run and this does recover, if it does recover, then it's probably going to get back up at least close to its launch price. Just want to have a quick look at CARV as well. CARV only just launched. Where's it at? Let's go 15-minute. Whoa. Saw a pretty good run up there. It's actually holding on pretty well. Be interesting to see what the market does with that. It's not a bad project, so not surprised it's holding quite close to the high. We've actually got some nodes in that, so it's good. What was the other one I was going to look at? I don't know. Jeez, that's had a good run. Yeah, okay, that's about it. Yeah, probably a rangy weekend, but it's a pretty important weekend for Bitcoin to find a bottom, I think. Be looking out for that. Fundamentals on Gary Network. I'm not gonna get into fundamentals. It's not really what I would trade on. It might be a good project under the hood, but I've never really heard of it personally. Have a quick look at market cap. It's only 3 million market cap. It's pretty nice. I mean, that's fairly sizable. An altcoin. But yeah, fundamentals aren't what I'm here for on this, unfortunately. Sorry, man. Yeah, I think that's going to be it today. Fairly rangy. Chinese stock market still kind of bouncing. Why is that not updating? That's fucking weird. They mustn't be trading today. Holiday, yeah, okay. Never mind. Ignore that. Japanese yen still kind of pushing a bit. What are we doing in the after hours? Nasdaq's a little bit up on the after hours. Same with SPY, it's pretty flat. In general, still nothing to be too worried about with general stock market, but I think if the general stock market does move and break up to new all-time highs and they starts to be a bit of euphoria in there, it'd be hard for Bitcoin not to go with it. Yeah, could just be a grind up for the time being, which is kind of what we're looking for on Bitcoin. Every good run that Bitcoin has ever had has been started with a grind up. So I'm just going to do the Gaussian channel. Haven't had a look at that in a while. Gaussian channel is actually ticking up as well, which is good, and we're right at the mid band of that as well. So if we do hold the mid band of that and we run up, I would expect this to break out, which is probably everything else is probably going to break out as well. Let's do the Pi cycle. Pi cycle bottom band, we're sitting just under that as well. So if we close above that as well, then it's normally not a bad thing. Realistically, Pi cycle is just two moving averages. There was one other thing, the hash ribbons. Yeah. Let's have a quick look. I did have a capitulation signal in there. Don't really have a buy signal, but This, to me, this one is a little bit broken. I think the idea is after a buy signal, you don't retest those levels again. Sorry, you don't retest the prior low on a closing basis. So this one did hold up. We'll see if this one holds up. So that one there flashed off on that day. It did break that. Yeah, so hash ribbons is kind of broken. It can stay in capitulation for a while, but I've never really paid a hell of a lot of attention to that. It's a tricky sort of indicator. I mean, it's obvious that it never retests that previous low, but generally you go on a decent run after it. Here didn't really work out very well. Here it did work out. Worked out pretty well there, only just. I'm not a huge fan of this one. Might not be relevant anymore. Oh, I did have it down here anyway. All right. Yeah, with that, good luck over the weekend. Hopefully we find a bit of a base. I think weekly looks nasty, but not too nasty. Still a fairly low volume week, really. Overall, the liquidity has dropped this week, so yeah, not too bad. Actually, it looks like we bounced off the monthly low. Yeah, that's a solid bounce there. Still interested in a sweep at the low, see if that happens. But definitely holding longs and just protecting them to the downside at the moment. Waiting for the next run. Okay,